Right, full disclosure straight away. I'm frustrated that United dropped 2 points there. That was a game that was very winnable. A paltry Spurs team. Paltry. Awful going forward. Yeah, they got a little bit of luck with the deflection with the first goal. I think the second one was a deflection. At the end, you sort of went from the roller coaster of conceding 2 late goals to Ligt coming up with a towering header to get United a draw. But United could have and should have won away at Forest. United could have and should have won away at Spurs. I'm going to say that's 4 points dropped overall. I know that means we're undefeated in 5, and I'm going to take that forward. That was a game that United should have won there today, right? I think we went there with a very specific game plan, and it completely worked in that first half. It's kind of how I said the game, how I felt the game was going to go. Frustrate Spurs, slow it down. Every time we had a throw on, we slowed it down by 10 seconds or so. I heard murmurings of boos at halftime, and I'll speak about Mbeumo and Ahmed and the goal that we scored. And then the second half happened, and then kind of just went a little bit off. Nothing really worked in the second half, and I know there's going to be a lot of people frustrated at the subs. Euro for Maguire made sense. Ugarte coming off for Casemiro. I wouldn't exactly say that Casemiro was adding too much going forward. But did that make United more defensively minded? I think we were unlucky with Šeško going off with what looked like maybe a hamstring injury and a deflected goal. But hey, we got a deflected goal against Brighton, and we hit Liverpool at the post a few times. Luck happens in game. I'm not going to get too frustrated about that. But to then concede another one and to go 2-1 down, as I said, against like a crap Spurs team, they had nothing going forward. Johnson, Mwani, Xavi Simons was probably their decent player, but United should have had that game bloody wrapped up. I don't think United really went out in that second half to get the second. I think Ruben Amorim put the belief in his team to keep that clean sheet. Bearing in mind, we've only kept 1 clean sheet this season. Man, that goal from Mbeumo in that first half, it felt effortless. United winning the ball in Spurs box. Great ball from Ahmed. And Mbeumo just stood there and just went, didn't even move his body. It was a class goal from United. And as I said, we went there today. Now, we could have played full tilt football, trying to press them intensely from the beginning, but I think that would have suited what Spurs and what that stadium wanted. That's why I wanted United to frustrate them, to slow it down. And it worked. And it was working going into the last 10 minutes of that game. Now, I don't particularly think, as I said, the second half, did we have much control in that second half? No. Did Spurs have much threat? A little bit, let's be totally honest. Senny Lamond's made a couple of brilliant saves. United away from home is certainly a different team to United at home. I think we all know that. Ruben Amorim has said that. And that's 2 consecutive away games now. Forest and Spurs. Forest 1-0 up at half-time, in control of that game. We can go and win this. So 2 times we've been 1-0 up at half-time, and neither game have we come away with the win. At Forest, 2 goals. We switched off 5 minutes into the second half, and then we got the equaliser. But we dropped points. Spurs 1-0 up at half-time, going into the last 10 minutes of the game. Spurs kind of easing their, kind of getting into the game a little bit and then conceding 2 goals. Now, Ligt came up with that monstrous header. That was a moment. Well done to Ligt and well done to these United players for having the sort of wherewithal, the mentality and the approach to go and get that equaliser, because we know that United previously wouldn't have. But it's just frustrating. Like, Spurs were there for the taking. Spurs were there for the pumping. The whole crowd was on edge the whole time until Tell got a deflected goal and put it in. There were boos at half-time. I knew how Spurs was set up. I knew how they would play. Senny making 2 great saves, and then the deflection came off De Ligt. Tell got an equaliser. It was Odegaard who swung in across, and then Richarlison, Manny McCoy's tried to say that he tried to... Who cares? It looked like a deflection to me. De Ligt was fantastic in that game. Again, United playing aggressive is what I mean. We had a game plan and it clearly worked. Right? It might not be exactly what you wanted to see from United in that game, but it's felt since Sunderland that United, I kind of want to do a video on this during the international break. It's felt since Sunderland that we've gone into each game with a kind of a particular approach for that game. And I think it worked against Spurs. They had no shot on target until the 55th bloody minute or whatever it was. And that's mad. Like, you don't win that game of football. I think I've just got to be frustrated that United in the first half against Forest, much better. Second half, woof. First half against Spurs, much better. Second half, woof. That's a repeating pattern. Now, maybe it's a small sample size because it's over 2 games, but kind of the same sort of thing has happened in 2 consecutive away games. We haven't been able to maintain what we've done in one half into the second half. And despite there being good individual performances, and Bumo, by the way, called like player of the month, scores in November. Mate, he's just mustard. I don't particularly think that we got him anywhere near on the ball enough in the second half, and there wasn't enough balls in behind for him to run onto. Look, that tackle from Van der Ven on Šeško, I mean, it was a class tackle. Let's be completely honest. I think Šeško, if he was completely brimming with confidence, might have taken that touch further out onto his left foot and then taken the shot on his left, but he wanted it on his right foot. Oh, man. I genuinely do think that's 4 points dropped in those 2 games, with 2 second-half performances that didn't match up to the first-half performances. We did the hard work. We frustrated Spurs. We got under their skin. They didn't really have anything going forward. It felt like they were going to get, if they were going to score, it's going to be from an individual mistake from United or from a set piece. And instead it was a deflection. Nothing we can really do about that. I think Amorim's going to be happy because we're now 5 undefeated. And as I said, that moment there, Ligt coming up, and it was a towering header. So at the very least, we avoided defeat there. We should have beaten Spurs. No 2 ways about it. That 3 points should have been United. And up until the 80th minute mark, I suppose they were United's. And the game plan was working. But then the deflection came. Then Richarlison got that. Overall, I'm very happy with these last 5 games. Was it Sunderland and Liverpool and Brighton? But to get 2 consecutive draws from winning positions at half-time away from home, that to me is a bit of a pattern. That's down to these. You could argue, if you want to argue, Amorim's subs impacting that game negatively. Who would argue? Probably argue about Ugarte and Casemiro. I thought Yoro for Maguire. It made it, obviously, Maguire pulled up with an injury. Mount for Cunha. Again, I thought that's fine. You can argue about Ugarte if you really, really want to. It's kind of down to the... Was it down to the players? It kind of felt more like an approach in the second half rather than individuals. It's just not good enough. Overall, as I said, I'm taking positives into that international break. But we could have won there today. We should have beaten that. And that was a crap-ass Spurs team. 4 points dropped, as far as I'm concerned, in these last 2 games. Positives to take forward, but definitely lessons to be learned, and certainly away from home in the second half of games.